Hey, this is Nick LaRue from FilmSnobbery, and I'm here at the Oxford Film Festival here in Oxford, Mississippi, and I am here today with the folks from Icepick to the Moon, and why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Skizz Cyzyk, I'm the director.
I'm Jen Talbert, I'm producer and did some animation and stuff, or a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. So, who's here is going to tell us a little bit about the movie?
I'll tell you about it. It's a feature-length documentary that starts off being about a sort of obscure singer by the name of Reverend Fred Lane, who has a very strong cult following throughout the world. And the film is sort of introducing audiences to who is this guy and why does he have a cult following. And then the answer is, well, he's actually a member of a collective of artists out of the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa in the 70s. Just a very sort of funny, weird, artistic, countercultural group of people that were a thorn in the side of the administration. And somehow out of this unknown arts movement came this guy that put out these records that only certain kinds of people seem to like, but boy do we like them.
Well, Jen, I got to ask you a question. So this is an interesting kind of film because it's about someone who not a lot of people know.
Right.
How did you connect up with Skizz, and also what about this particular project made you go, oh yeah, I got to be a part of that?
Well, Skizz is probably my favorite. Well, he was actually Baltimore's best DJ in 1989, and so he came at it from a music perspective. I had a record label. Skizz played on some of the records and in some of the bands, and we actually had a film festival together. And we just we found out that our partnership really worked, and so we came at it from the music perspective for sure. And if anybody can open you up to new music, Skizz can do it. And yeah, Reverend Fred Lane. Who is that?
Who is that? Well, we're going to find out. So, Skizz, so obviously you have a huge music background. How does your background in music translate over to film? Do you look at film? I mean, people talk about film in terms of beats, right? So, there's a beat sheet to a screenplay, or there's a, obviously there's music in a movie. There at the very least a composition. But do you ever look at it from, like this is the instrument that the person here we're talking about. This is the percussion that drives the rest of this. This is this is that. How do you look at film?
For me, filmmaking is a medium where I can combine all of my artistic interests into one. I mean, I can incorporate my music, visual art, writing, everything into filmmaking, and then one of my favorite parts of filmmaking is editing, and of course there's definitely a rhythm to the editing. Like you really, it's like you're creating a song when you're creating a film. And my favorite kinds of films are similar to my favorite albums. Like I don't like disposable music. I like an album that when I enjoy it, I have to own a copy of it, and I have to listen to it over and over and over again so I know it inside out. Same with my favorite films. And
So when you're looking and working in terms of producing with Skizz, do you look at the artist side of him and go like, go ahead and run rampant, or does he need to be like, leashed up a little bit and go like, okay, stay on target. Like this is what we got. We have deadlines. We got stuff. I know you want to capture this and this stuff, but we really only have time or budget for this or this.
I have to say that. Skizz's creativity is like one of the things that really draws me to him. But he does need like a nudge here and a push there every now and then because he has such wide interests that it is difficult sometimes to focus. But you want to do that a little bit, but I did focus him in some ways. Like he had an offer for a grant to work to make a short film, and I was like, he's like, I don't have time for this. I'm doing this other film, and I was like, but you could use it in the larger film. So you could use it in the feature, and as a little documentary, it turned out to be an animated documentary. But he took that around the world, and so that is part of the film, and it really kind of some of the other animation in the film kind of went from there. So yeah, there is some focusing, but also just like every now and then, just like a nudge. Oh no, you can do this. You can do this easily. Maybe not easily.
Maybe not easily. I think that's an understatement, right? Talk about the animation. Is this stuff you're doing yourself, or did you bring in an animator? What is your...
It's a whole lot of everything. I did a lot of, I forget the actual number, but there are hundreds of short animations throughout the film. And I did most of them, but Jen did some of them. Wally Chung and Julie Jackson are two friends that I met on the film festival circuit that pitched in and helped do some pretty substantial animation in the film. There were maybe 2 sequences where I actually hired out, people I didn't really know, but I liked the style of their work, and I paid them to do stuff. But we had to do a whole lot of animation because there was really no archival materials to work with, so we needed to fake them. We needed to create them, and I believe
the word we use is fabricate. No.
Yeah, I don't want to say fake because it's not like I'm trying to fool you into believing that this is real archival material, which is why we did it in animation. Mm-hmm. Just to give it that little more extra interesting look, and not say, we're trying to fool you into believing this is real.
So you're already talking about the subject of the film, a person that, as you said, it's like a cult person, like they cult in as much as cult following. Not a lot of people know it, a little underground, a little, not as, it's not Weezer,
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, was there, as you're digging into this person's background, are you finding out anything yourself even? You're like, I didn't know that. And did that ever change your narrative?
We found out everything. Like everything we found out, we didn't know. That was one of the reasons for making the film, is because every Fred Lane fan that I ever met, the one thing we had in common is we didn't know anything about him. Like if you look at these album covers, all the information is a joke because they created basically their own world. We didn't know anything about him. We didn't know who he was, where he was from, when the records were even recorded. So in the process of making this film, we learned everything. There was actually one of the fans that I interviewed said that he'd be a little upset when the film was done because a lot of the fun was not knowing. And, well, we just killed that fun. A whole lot of Fred Lane fans.
What must be fun for you is, we were chatting a little bit not too long ago, off the record, so to speak, but you have a fairly unique way of getting this film out to people, because, we were talking about how it's the subject has such a cult following that it might be hard to pick up distribution that is wide because no one knows who you're talking about for the most part. It's a sub-interest of an interest. So, so you're finding areas that are that have fans readily, that want to know more about this already and kind of going to the fans versus saying, you fans come to me. How's that going for you so far?
It's great. I mean, as a musician, I come from this world of touring with bands, going from town to town and playing at a different club. I'm doing the same thing with the film now. I'm finding the clubs where there are fans and I'm taking to them. And it's a whole lot of fun because some of the best screenings I have had haven't been in legit movie theaters or in film festivals. They've been in dive bars, or in Savannah, Georgia, I screened in an abandoned dairy that didn't have a roof. It's screened in recording studios, photo studios,
art galleries.
I mean, and I just have a blast at these screenings because it's like it drives home the point that it really isn't the venue. It's the content of the film and it's the audience that shows up. I had one screening where I've never seen a film look and sound worse than my screening at this one dive bar did. And I looked at the audience and realized they don't notice that it looks and sounds bad. And
how much of that is the whiskey?
It was an early screening, so there wasn't any whiskey in it.
Yeah, I'm still going to say how much of that was the whiskey.
But the fans loved it, and they hung out, and I talked. I made friends with a bunch of fans that had driven 2 hours to be at that screening, and then they hung out an extra 2 hours just talking to me. And I realized, like, for a lot of filmmakers, that screening would have seemed like a disaster. But for me, it was a great success, despite how bad it looked and sounded.
Do you think that, I'm going to go over to you for this one, do you think that success of the screens like that has to do with the subject matter of the film, or do you think that filmmakers in general might be missing something on that of, like, I'm going to go to you instead of waiting for you to come to me, and it has to be perfect every time? Like, something about the kind of almost punk rock aesthetic of, like, we're just going to put it out there and we're going to just hope that someone appreciates it. I can imagine from a producing point of view, you're like, I kind of want it to screen well because I kind of want to sell this thing, you know? Tell me a little bit about, like, your thoughts on the whole process.
I think Skizz and I both come from a very DIY background, so this comes naturally. Like, touring it comes naturally. I don't think that the material for Icepick to the Moon is, I think it lends itself to DIY and screening in places that are gathering points more so than theaters. Because a lot of the film festival films that I see on the circuit, I don't think would play out well. I don't think that audience members who are, I don't think that the films are meant for audiences that would show up in an old dairy that was abandoned, or a dive bar, or an art gallery even. I think it's very much related to the content and the idea that it's very much based on music too. I think music also lends itself to wherever the hell you want to put music, do it. So DIY and music, yeah.
I don't think any of my previous films I could tour, and that those tours would be successful. But this, I mean, it's weird to take a film on tour and compare this to the tours I've done with bands and think, well, in a band you're lucky if you make $100, you know, but with a film they're handing you $300 or $400 at the end of the night.
And we don't have a DVD to sell to them yet, and they are willing to pay for it. So that was like another thing. Oh yeah, we should have merch.
Every screening we probably could have sold, you know, at least a dozen DVDs, which would be even more income. Like, I'm not used to making money off of anything. Besides
that is the artist's way, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to change gears for like 2 seconds, because Skizz, where you and I typically end up meeting up is on the festival circuit, and we're here in Oxford, obviously, now. And what are your impressions of what makes a good festival good, and what separates the good from the good and the mediocre, the wheat from the chaff, as it were, when it comes to film festivals?
I don't know. I mean, I know what makes my favorite film festivals my favorites, and that is it doesn't have to be a great, perfect festival. It just has to have a staff that cares and is glad that people are there. Like, I actually went to a festival several years ago that while I was there, I was thinking to myself, this might be the worst festival I've ever been at. But I would come back because I'm having a good time. And then, like, I was so happy that 2 weeks later I went to another festival that ended up being the worst festival I've ever been at, and I would never go back. And I was so glad that this other the first festival is no longer holding that title.
Right.
God, I'm starting to make festivals sound really bad here.
No, there are. I mean, look, the fact is there's thousands of festivals worldwide.
Right.
I mean, you're gonna run into a few eggs. That's just how that stuff, works. But, as someone as well-traveled as yourself, who's been around that festival circuit, and our audience especially, being primarily first-time, second-time independent filmmakers, you're the veteran here. So, like, yeah, we got to take it from the master on the mountaintop. Show, be the lighthouse. Show us the beacon.
Right. Well, I think a festival, it's not about the resources the festival has, it's about the staff and how much they care. And
The
that
staff
makes
are
a huge
resources,
difference.
though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm not
Human resources.
But
Absolutely.
we've been to festivals that had no budget, no
Right.
sponsorship, and a lot of people will be like, well, I don't want to go to that festival. They don't have anything. But if they have a really good staff that cares and really appreciates both the filmmakers being there and the audience showing up, it makes all the difference in the world, and it completely overcomes the lack of all the other resources.
And I'd like to throw in not just film festival staff, like thinking of like paid staff or anything, but like the volunteer staff, like the volunteer effort made by the hometown, the local people who are so excited to see people come in from out of town and experience their city, and they are the best ambassadors. So that's what makes Oxford great. Like the shuttle drivers and the people who take your tickets and the people who sell you the t-shirts, and they are amazing, and they tell you they are welcoming, and they tell you a little bit about their part of the city, and it's just, that's what makes it really fun.
Yeah, no, I would say from my experience too, and I think maybe you can relate, Skizz, which is like, I think we've both been to Sundance, and that is heralded as like, well, that's the Mecca. You've got to play there. That's where the industry is at. But it's also, in my opinion, the least fun.
Yeah.
You know, because it's expected to be so formal. I think that it is. I mean, hell, I run something called FilmSnobbery, and it is
it's
too
the
snobby
ultimate.
for me. So, you know, that said, you go up the hill to Slam Dance, and it's a party, and it is welcoming, and it's smaller, and, you know, maybe not as prestigious, although it is around the same time, and it does carry a lot of weight because they're now in their 25th year. You know, but it is by far the festival of choice if you're in Park City in January. So, you know.
Yeah, I always tell filmmakers, first of all, it's statistically harder to get into Slam Dance, so if you get in, you really deserve a pat on the back. And then also, if you have a choice, I would rather go to the festival where I'm not going to get lost in the crowd. You know, and Sundance, I mean, and I don't want to, you know, crap on Sundance. I think Sundance has done some really great things, but I sort of feel like if you're in Sundance, you are up against all these other filmmakers that probably have resources like a PR agent.
Yeah.
You know, just all these things. It's really not. If you are a truly independent filmmaker, and by independent, I say you cannot get more independent than a DIY filmmaker with no budget and no connections.
Yep.
And if that's you, you're just going to get lost in the shuffle at a lot of festivals. But at Slam Dance, you have more of a chance of getting noticed because everybody at Slam Dance gets noticed.
And is that also, you know, why you look at festivals that are more local town, you know, worship festivals like Oxford or Sidewalk or something like that, where the city or the town is really behind them, and you can see the love for film and for the arts in general. I mean, do you feel like that's where filmmakers really are going to shine because they're made to?
Yeah, I always tell, I give a lot of advice to filmmakers all the time, and I tell them, don't overlook the smaller regional festivals. You will have a much better time there. You will get a hell of a lot more respect there than you will at the bigger festivals, if you even get into the bigger festivals. In a lot of these towns, the town is just as much a part. They always say that, like, we're from Baltimore, and you know, John Waters is from Baltimore, and everybody always says that John Waters uses the town of Baltimore as a character in his films. And that's kind of how these festivals are. Like, the town is such a part of the actual festival. Like, there's this sort of southern circuit with Oxford and Indie Memphis and Sidewalk and Cucaloris. And they're all very similar festivals, but you can really tell them apart, and it's because of the town and the people in each of them. I think I got off topic. But.
No, it's perfect. No, I mean, the takeaway from that is don't overlook the smaller regional festivals, because that's where you can really hopefully find your audience, and you'll find people who care about what you're bringing to the table versus a larger festival like Sundance rather, where you may get lost in the shuffle unless you have the backing of the resources. I think I summed up that, maybe.
You did.
All right, fair enough.
I should probably just for clarification, because it sounds like I'm really talking up Slam Dance and talking down Sundance. Just to get it out there, I've worked for Slam Dance for 23 years, so anybody sitting out to go, oh, of course he's going to say nice things about Slam Dance. I'm like, well, there's a reason I've been with them that long, you know, but I don't want to try to hide that I'm connected to that festival.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, as someone who is nonpartisan on that, but has done both festivals from this side of the mic, I can tell you that I enjoyed Slam Dance far more than, let's call it, the bottom of the hill, where I got to interview different types of people with, again, more resources, which might have gotten me more hits on my website. but it was definitely not the same atmosphere, and I certainly did not have the fun that I had interviewing the folks that were at the top of it, let's just call it. And I put it out there, and I do put in that, Slam Dance up, because you do have familiarity and connection there, because I think that a lot of people that submit for the film festivals, from our perspective anyway, is they look at Slam Dance as one of those. That another top tier festival, and because it's right in Park City and has the reputation that it does, I know none of this is about your film, but I think first of all, I rarely get a chance to sit down and talk to you, but secondly, it's just you do have such a wide variety of experience that I think a lot of people in the position of my audience really appreciates, from both of you. So, and it comes from a little bit of a different place too, in terms of the music industry, going into film. So, you kind of have a different perspective on it that I think a lot of them will respect. So, where can we find more information about your film, though? Maybe online.
Well, there's a website, fredlanedoc.com.
Okay.
And then there's a Facebook page, facebook.com/Icepick to the Moon. I seem to update the Facebook page a lot more than the website.
That happens.
But yeah, that's pretty. Or if you just if you can remember my name, Skizz, Skizz, there's skizz.net, which links to the web page for the film.
And where are we heading after the Oxford Film Festival? Do we have a next hub on the tour?
Yes, end of March we're doing. What?
Next weekend.
Oh, next weekend. Yeah, I forgot about that.
we'll be at Metropolis Gallery in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and we'll not just be showing the film, but we'll be showing the film, and then we'll be recording the commentary track for our DVD. So that's really exciting. And then we'll be
will also be an episode of Mike White's the Projection Booth podcast.
Yes, Projection Booth. And what's the name of Nick's?
Randy Now's Man Cave. The next night, Sunday, whatever that is, the 17th, I think, in Bordenton, New Jersey. We'll be at Randy Now's Man Cave, which I can't wait to see this place. Whether we screen or not, I just want to go see this place.
Yeah.
But then at the end of March, we're doing, it's kind of, I say hometown screening, even though we're from Baltimore. It hasn't screened in Baltimore yet, but we're screening it in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where a lot of it was shot and takes place. And then New Orleans, then Mobile, Alabama, and then not confirmed yet, but hopefully Orlando, Florida, and either Tampa or St. Petersburg, Florida.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to sit down, and I know we meandered a bit, but I do appreciate it. I know the audience will too. So I want to say thank you again, and good luck on your screening here at the festival.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for having
much.
us.
Thank you.
Yes.